What if I told you that the difference between a $5,000 garden paradise and a graveyard of dead plants comes down to just 7 critical mistakes? Mistakes that even experienced gardeners make without realizing it? Today, we're not just talking about watering and fertilizer. We're diving into the psychology of plant failure, the hidden science of container ecosystems, and why your grandmother's gardening wisdom might actually be killing your plants. Welcome back to Senior Green Thumbs, where we don't just grow plants, we cultivate wisdom. If you're tired of watching your container gardens fail, despite your best efforts, this episode will change everything. These 7 mistakes aren't just gardening errors, they're what I call silent garden killers. Each one seems innocent, even logical, but together they create a perfect storm of plant destruction. Mistake 1. The Perfectionists Paradox. Let's start with the most dangerous mistake of our social media age: designing for the camera, not for the plants. Here's the brutal truth. The most beautiful container gardens on social media are often botanical disasters waiting to happen. When you prioritize perfect symmetry, matching colors, and photo-ready arrangements, you're ignoring what plants actually need to thrive. Plants in nature grow in chaotic communities. They support each other, create microclimates, and establish beneficial relationships. Your perfectly spaced, color-coordinated containers? They're like putting introverts in separate rooms and expecting them to throw a party. The fix? Embrace what I call productive chaos. Group containers of different heights, mix companion plants, and let some edges get a little wild. Your plants will thank you, and ironically, your garden will look more authentically beautiful. Mistake 2. The drainage deception. Raise your hand if you've been told that rocks in the bottom of containers improve drainage. Well, I hate to break it to you, but that's botanical fake news that's been circulating for decades. This is called the perched water table effect. Those rocks don't drain water. They create a soggy layer that sits right at your plant's root level. It's like wearing rubber boots in a swimming pool. Here's the shocking truth. More container plants die from root rot than drought. And this well-meaning drainage layer is often the culprit. The fix? Skip the rocks entirely. Use quality potting soil that drains naturally, ensure your containers have adequate drainage holes, and learn to read your plant's water needs instead of following rigid schedules. Mistake 3. The fertilizer addiction. Here's a confession. I used to be a fertilizer pusher. More nutrients, bigger plants, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. When you over-fertilize, you create plant junkies. They become dependent on constant feeding. Their root systems become lazy, and they lose their natural resilience. It's like raising children on candy. They might grow fast, but they're not truly healthy. Over-fertilized plants are actually more susceptible to pests and diseases. They're like bodybuilders who look strong but can't run a mile. All show no endurance. The fix? Feed your plants like you'd feed yourself. Regularly, but not excessively. Use slow-release fertilizers, focus on soil health with compost, and learn to recognize the difference between a hungry plant and a stressed plant. Mistake 4. The container size conspiracy. Pop quiz. If you want a big, healthy plant, you need a big container, right? This seems so logical that questioning it feels almost stupid. But here's where container gardening gets counterintuitive. We humans love the idea of giving our plants room to grow. But plants aren't teenagers who need bigger bedrooms. They're more like goldfish. They'll grow to fit their environment, but that doesn't mean they'll be healthier. In oversized containers, plants spend all their energy developing extensive root systems instead of the beautiful foliage or flowers you actually want. It's like having a house so big, you spend all your time just walking from room to room. The magic ratio? Container diameter should be roughly equal to the plant's mature spread. Your plants want to feel snug, not lost. Mistake 5. The seasonal ignorance. This mistake is particularly deadly for us seniors because we have decades of indoor living experience. But container gardening is neither fully indoor nor fully outdoor. It's a unique hybrid environment. Your containers create their own weather systems. They heat up faster, cool down quicker, dry out in ways that ground plants never do. Ignoring this is like wearing a winter coat in summer, because it's technically still the same season. Dark containers in summer sun can reach soil temperatures of 120 degrees Fahrenheit or more. That's literally cooking your roots. Meanwhile, in winter, elevated containers expose roots to freezing temperatures that ground plants never experience. The solution? Think like a plant bodyguard. Use light-colored containers in hot climates. Group containers for winter protection, and understand that your containers need seasonal wardrobe changes just like you do. Mistake 6. The companion plant catastrophe. Companion planting is having a moment, and that's wonderful. But cramming incompatible plants together in containers isn't companion planting. It's plant speed dating gone horribly wrong. Imagine being forced to share a studio apartment with someone who stays up all night, eats completely different food, and needs the thermostat set 20 degrees different from you. That's what we do to plants when we ignore their compatibility. Some plants are camels, others are fish. When you put them together, someone's always unhappy. The thirsty plant stays stressed and stunted, while the drought lover develops root rot. Plants actually communicate through root chemicals. Some combinations are like a beautiful conversation, others are like a constant argument happening underground. The solution? Learn plant personalities, not just their care requirements. Group plants with similar water needs, compatible growth habits, and complementary root systems. Mistake 7. The neglect masquerading as care. The final deadly mistake is the most psychological, and it's one that particularly affects us caring, attentive gardeners. We hover, we worry, we constantly adjust. We think we're being good plant parents, but we're actually being helicopter gardeners. Every yellow leaf becomes a crisis. Every slight wilt triggers an emergency watering. We check, adjust, move, feed, and fuss until our plants are so stressed from constant change they can't establish any rhythm. Here's the paradox. Plants need consistency more than perfection. A plant that's slightly underwatered but on a reliable schedule will always outperform a plant that's perfectly watered but unpredictably. Good container gardening is like good parenting. It's about creating stable conditions and then stepping back to let growth happen naturally. Here's what happens when you avoid these 7 deadly mistakes. Your containers become self-regulating ecosystems. Your plants develop resilience. Your garden becomes less work, not more. And you transform from someone who keeps plants alive to someone who helps them thrive. Remember, every master gardener has killed plants. The difference is that they learned from each death and gradually eliminated these silent killers from their practice. If this episode saved even one plant's life, hit that like button. If you've been making any of these mistakes, and honestly, we all have, share your biggest aha moment in the comments below. Next week, we're diving into the container garden pharmacy, how to diagnose and treat plant problems before they become fatal. Because once you stop making these deadly mistakes, you'll want to become a plant doctor too. Until then, keep growing, keep learning, and remember, every plant has a story and you're the author.